Greetings, beloveds. I am Eric with Muathe.com, and I greet you in the love light of the one infinite creator. So this is going to serve as the weekend's market analysis video on a Thursday with about, let's call it an hour before the end of the Thursday session. I won't be able to record a Friday market analysis video. So this is going to serve as the weekend market analysis video. All right, let's begin here. And we can see that the Dow, the NASDAQ, S&P 500 are showing a decent up day. NASDAQ up the most, up about 2%. And we can see BTC is up about 1.57. And Ethereum is up slightly, about 0.4%. For a little bit of a perspective, let's compare this week's action and last week's action. We can see last week markets were down about 4% as far as the US general markets are concerned. And this week we are seeing the NASDAQ especially recover most of those gains. The Dow is up slightly. Relatively, we can see that Bitcoin was down the prior week about 11. And this week we can see has recovered most of those gains. Ethereum is seeing a little bit of a bounce. So judging by the sentiment, it seems like the market should be down significantly. But remember, last week I was talking about this very simple line. And has it come to the market's rescue for now? We can see here, yes. So that's a good place to have looked for an entry back into the market. Keep in mind, the market's been dancing up and down above RSI 50. Like last week, we had a big down week, as I just mentioned here on the NASDAQ. And this is as it moved below 50. And this week, we are seeing the exact opposite, which is it is reclaiming the level above RSI 50. And we are seeing a big reaction. By the way, remember, we tend to close towards the session high. So we are moving above 50 this week. Chances are by Friday's close, we are going to hold on to most of these gains, maybe even higher. But for the most part, I suspect we're going to close at the highs, close to the highs of the week. And of course, I should always add the fact that this is dependent on the market. The market can always change its mind, and we know that. So if it doesn't hold above 50 this week, then it's going to lose most of these gains. But for now, it looks like it is holding. Now I can approach this based on the uniformity concept, a concept by yours truly. You can see if I take this prior resistance here on the NASDAQ, I should draw it somewhere about there, should be fine. And we see that it gives us this breakout here. We can call it that in what a method that I coined as a wedge breakout, because there was a long wedge here on the weekly. We break out above this area. We start 2023 with a nice move higher in the NASDAQ. Essentially what we are doing is coming back to test that area, and based on the uniformity concept, we touch this line with uniform action, and guess what? The market is responding exactly as you would expect with this recovery on the NASDAQ. So yes, the sentiment is heavily expecting the market to be massively down, but I would say until we break this line here, the market is stable to bullish. The NASDAQ daily, again, I talked about this in the last weekend's market analysis video, that this area was going to be an area potentially for a recovery, irrespective of what the intraday action is. This is the NASDAQ. We can see the RSI lows line. We can also follow this up and draw a line based on this movement where we come off the lows. And as you can see, coming off the lows here, we held. Take that information, draw your uniformity line. It's going to look like that. So that's a second line. And then there's a third line, which was the prior topside line resistance. And I'm going to draw it as such and as such. And you can see all of these things during the week over the last couple of days. If you are watching this and you knew what to look for, were showing that this could have been an area of potential support. And I talked about this in the last weekend market analysis video. So the market bouncing is not a surprise, in my opinion. Taking a look at the hourly. So the NASDAQ hourly, we can see where the market currently is showing signs of stalling. And if the NASDAQ is going to have a strong close by the end of the week, which is by tomorrow, Friday, it needs to clear this topside line where right now it is stalling, as we are seeing hour to hour action here. Another way of looking at this is just figure out where we broke down, which is coming off this break here. Let me draw it as such. And that break was responsible for coming off recent highs for 2023. Break there. we can take that information and again use the uniformity concept as such. Remember, this blue line happens to be conveniently around RSI 61.8, so it's a meaningful area. The market's been responding to this area, showing that it is aware of it. We had double top rejection here for these highs, swing trade opportunity there. We touched it there with uniform activity, reversal there. We went above it, back below it with uniform activity right there, reversal here, and here we are again. So if we cannot hold above this line hour to hour, then it is suggesting that the market here starts to roll over. And again, if we are going to respect that RSI 50 weekly level and we are to close stronger, then the market is going to have to clear this level so we can set the stage for a strong close by the end of the week. Taking a look at the monthly charts, let's go to the S&P 500. You can see for the month, S&P 500 is down about 0.06%. The key is the RSI 50. The more it stays below 50, the more it opens the probability for a big down market move. But if the market can defend this RSI 50 area and hold above it, then this market is not going down. Same thing with the Dow. For the month, the Dow is currently down about 1.5. It is trading with its RSI just a hair below 50. So we shall see. You'd want it if you're bullish. You want the market to hold RSI 50 and bounce above it like we did here in late 2018, early 2019. If you're bearish, you want the market to crack and slash below 50, just as we did in early 2020. So I would say the monthly charts, even though things develop very slowly on a monthly chart, but that's the key. Above 50, this market is still stable. I should add the NASDAQ monthly. For the month, the NASDAQ is up about 2%. And just notice here that the NASDAQ has been coiling and coiling and coiling. And if it can move its RSI above 50, on the month, it moves its RSI above 50. Expect the market to stage a nice, fantastic monthly move to the upside, holding on to most of the gains for that month whenever it moves above 50. It would be similar visually in a sense to this area here in early, let's call it April of 2020, which is this bounce back above 50. And again here, another huge monthly move here in early 2019. By the way, S&P 500 on the weekly, we have the possibility of, if the market wants to move above 50 by the end of the week, which is one more day, which is tomorrow, Friday. If it can reclaim the level above 50 on the week, it reclaims a level above 50. Expect there to be a strong weekly close for the markets. It might be this week or in the coming weeks. We shall see. The VIX. On the weekly last week, I proposed the following line. And even though part of this week, it looked like it was breaking above the line. But remember, markets have a tremendous memory. Now, negative for the week, respecting that 2-year weekly resistance line. I also shared with you guys a 3-year weekly, and again it confirms the same look. So let me increase the time period here a little bit. So let's go about 3.6, so 3.5 months, 3.5 years. And what we are going to do here is I'm just going to draw a simple line. This is the market tanking in early 2020. Now we take that top, whoops, wrong tool, take that top and just connect it as such. Again, the market has a tremendous memory. If you use this line here, you knew the market was going to recover. This is when the Dow made its lows, I believe. And here we are again. So as long as we are showing resistance here, we anticipate that the VIX is going to pull back. And remember, if the VIX cracks below 50, on the week it cracks below 50, expect a big down week on the VIX, big up week for the market. And this line is going to be a very good line to give us indication that the market is poised for a big drop, because at some point, it's going to happen. The VIX is going to clear this line on a weekly basis. VIX is going to take off and the general market is going to plunge. So this line is relevant. Right now showing resistance, but in the future, a breakout above this line could mean that the market is poised for a big down drop. This week, I believe was Monday or Tuesday. I told you when the VIX drops below RSI 69.1 on the daily, expect the market to recover. And so we had this playful game here. A lot of this is well designed to trap you in to take the wrong trade. But if you know what you're looking for, these things, you can smell them out. At any rate, the VIX right now is showing a pullback. And the key here now is we can use the recent daily closing high right here. And that's the daily closing high for 2023. And that level is at 26 26.52. So 26.52 on the VIX. If the VIX can break out above this level, then it would mean that the market is pulling back, and you should be careful here if you're bullish. If it can break out above this level, that's bullish for the VIX. If the VIX is unable to retake this level in the short term and continues pulling back, I would anticipate that the market is going to continue being stable to bullish. The XLF still down 3% for the week, and I'm going to continue saying the same thing I said last weekend, that I would anticipate that this line here is going to come in play. It's the RSI lows line. That's line number 1. Then line number 2 comes from the lows line based on the uniformity concept. This is the lows. So we take that area and we can just do it as such. This breakout here, a little bit of a breakout, we can call it. This is now also being tested. This is now the black line. And then we can bring back the previous top side line, and I'll draw it in a different color so we can see that all of these are converging right now, right here. What this is telling you is that you'd be looking for opportunities in the financial space for a recovery. Because why? Because if week to week this holds, then that's a clear visual sign that now we are sideways to higher in the weeks to come. And at the same time, if there's no support and we end up breaking this area, watch out for another leg down. But I would say with the convergence of the 3 lines, the NASDAQ has found support. I would suspect that more than likely this is going to hold, and we're going to see a recovery in the financial XLF space as well. Speaking of instruments showing support, the cryptos are showing a good move this week. And remember, last week looked like we're cracking below 50, but by the end of the week we had recovered. By the end of, I believe, was the weekend there. And so you can see there's 2 numbers here that I'm showing from a breakout perspective. This is the weekly closing high here from early 2023. There's a weekly closing high here from August. Let me see that. Yes, August, July of 2022. So these 2 numbers, as long as Bitcoin is above 23,747 and 24,313, I would say anything above this level is good. Now keep in mind, one of the reasons why I suspect this is visually looks good in my opinion is because we have this coiling of the moving averages. So the 13 and the 34-week moving average crossover is generally in this situation bullish. And again, based on the Muathe breakout. Now we can see something similar here. We had a crossover, and it's just for visual guidance. It doesn't have to be that the market always has to pay attention to this, but this is a crossover here to the upside. We have this strong move, and then we can see periods of crossover mess. This is confusing here, rejection. Ultimately, there's a crossover here to the downside, which led to this move lower. Right now, the crossover, as far as BTC and Ethereum are concerned, is now leaning to a crossover to the upside, and so we have to default visually to anticipate a market that wants to move higher as far as the cryptos are concerned. Bitcoin on its daily chart, by the way, this was surprising. This recovery came so fast. I was anticipating something like an attempted move and then a move lower and then a move higher. But no, it did not happen that way. In fact, it can be explained if we draw it this way. And in my opinion, this does give a little bit of an understanding. Here we break out. We move higher, we use this as support here, there's double bottom support here, and then we drop below it. But you'll notice this movement below the line and back above it is with uniform action. This is a V-type recovery. So upon moving above the black line, that was a sign that this move here was a fake move. Now, that is all true, yet we run into short-term resistance. If we take a line, this line here, and this movement lower, right there, extend that line again based on the uniformity concept, something like that. You can see that ultimately after several attempts to move above the line, we stall here, and now we're already stalling here. So short term, we need to clear this if you're bullish. Otherwise, bears would be encouraged to see the cryptos stall around here and start drifting lower. Keep in mind, this is slightly above RSI 61.8 in that general area, so we can say that this is an area to watch for potential resistance situation or short-term breakout. Now, if we take a look at the 4-hourly, I will propose the following line, which is what I've been using over the last couple of days. It is this line here, and this line to me makes sense in the sense that, all right, so we break out here and now we are using it as support. So I would say as long as the 4 hourly for BTC is holding above this area, and there's also another line, and I will just draw it as such. And what this line is where we had been stalling previously. At any rate, it is the line that comes from this break here. And so below the line, we've been moving lower. As you can see, below the line, we move lower. Above the line, we have good reaction higher. And what I'm saying here is we move above the black line and now using it as support. So as long as we're above both the blue and the black line, chances are markets are going to be stable to bullish as long as we're above those two lines. Bitcoin, monthly. Watch out. It's trading at about 47.7 and Ethereum is trading at about 48.5. Be careful here if you're bearish, because whenever they move above 50, on the month they move above 50, expect a big monthly candle to the upside and holding on to most of the gains for that month. The last time we had some reaction, big reaction, was here when we dropped below 50 on the monthly, and you'll notice we closed towards the end, the lows of the month. So whenever we do get a move back above 50 for Ethereum, for Bitcoin, expect a big monthly candle to the upside. I am Eric with Muathe.com, and I leave you as I found you, in the love light of the one infinite creator. Go forth rejoicing in the power and in the peace of the one creator, Adonai.